Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Thank you once again for being a part of the BCR Technique 30-day challenge. And so here we are on day number 14. Some debris on me for some reason. Here we are on day number 14, where I'm going to be giving an introduction to the short version of the BCR technique, which I'm going to be demonstrating tomorrow. All right, so day 15 will be the official day where we'll be looking into the short BCR technique. Now again, it's very important that you're doing the first 2 weeks, right? So if you have your first 2 weeks of allotment here regarding the BCR technique, that you're doing the standard BCR technique for 14 days, right? When you move on to the 15th day, then you can go ahead and do the shortened version of the BCR technique. It's quite simple, right? It's not something really complicated. I am going to be going over it in full demonstration tomorrow. But what I also wanted to talk about today as well is the effects of heart rate variability, okay? Because there are some people that are on the Telegram group and they're wondering, let me just actually put some extra light here. There we go, feel a little dim, there we go. And they're wondering about the effects they get, right? Because I am getting a lot of feedback from people that are doing the BCR technique, and they've been doing it for perhaps a few days now, and they're noticing the effects that are coming through the BCR technique as well too. So some people are actually able to interact with their love energy a lot more, right? They're actually feeling that their space is talking to them, right? Or they can tune into their love energy entity and they see that their love energy entity is talking to them, right? As soon as they go into their space, they're actually able to have a conversation with spirit. And that's exactly what's happening. So yes, guys, this is exactly why I'm teaching you this. This is you being able to interact personally with spirit. And so you can now start to communicate with spirit. You can share any kind of information you want if anything's troubling you, right? Which it really shouldn't, because you're going into the reinforcement space and you're leaving your ego at the door. But if you have curiosities, right, you can certainly present that to spirit. Spirit comes to the humble man and woman. And that humility that you have is again going to be the voice box to where spirit can communicate with you and you can communicate with spirit. So absolutely, this is what happens, right? So some of you can notice that 5 days in, 10 days in, 15 days in, maybe you have a whole month in. It all depends upon the person. But nonetheless, spirit is communicating with you, right? So that's a wonderful thing. When you've gotten to that stage, that's excellent, right? Of course, that happens to me. If it didn't happen to me, I don't think I'd be teaching the BCR technique, right? But I always hear it from within, right? Connecting with spirit, talking to spirit. And I've developed it without having to use a reinforcement space. But again, I'm giving you guys the shortcut, right? This is what the BCR technique is all about, because I didn't have the BCR technique starting all of this, right? I had to go through many other different trials and tribulations to being able to have that wonderful relationship with spirit. You guys are 10 miles ahead now because you're using the BCR technique template, and this is an easy way of you being able to work with spirit. Like I said, this is shaving 10, 20, 30 years off just simple meditation study and surface-based meditation practice, right? Working with affirmations and just breathing right and all that, right? So you're shaving a lot of that off. This is a shortcut. This is what the BCR technique is all about. So yes, you can have sensations, particularly following heart rate variability. As I said, Forrest Knudsen has talked about what's known as the 4 proofs, right? Again, if you haven't checked out his channel, I recommend you do so. He goes into great depths and detail about heart rate variability, as well as some other good things for meditation, okay? But yes, with heart rate variability, you will have some of these effects, and what people are noticing is the astral movements, right? Where you're spinning, okay? So you're basically doing the heart rate variability, right? Breathing in and breathing out through the nose, right, to the timed intervals. And as you do this 10 minutes, 15 minutes, for example, you're noticing that it's like you're spinning inside, right? There's a spinning sensation that's taking place. It's like you're not spinning physically, but you feel that spinning sensation. It can also be kind of like a tilting sensation, right? Moving left to right, up and down, right? Or spinning. Okay, those are astral movements. That's telling you that you're going into subtle states of being. You're going into the lower subtle states of being. Like I said, when we're on the ocean, right? We got those bobbing waves, and then we're doing heart rate variability. We're going from active calmness and we're going into subtle calmness, where everything just becomes still. When you're there, you're moving into the subtle state. That is synchronizing together with your brainwave states. Okay? So when your brainwave states are going into that lower idle, subtle states of being, you're going to notice that like the entire ocean just feels completely calm. It's a wonderful sensation to have. And that's when you're able to, again, leave the ego at the door and then go into the reinforcement space. So yes, these are common sensations, right? So you may start to feel like your hands are getting hot and heavy or warm. It's as Forrest Knudsen talks about with the hands hot and heavy. You may start to feel like your skin is tingling as well too. You may feel a very strong charging of energy around the dorsal and vagal nerves around yourself. So around the back and around the front, you'll feel like a charging of energy, like a very strong charge of energy, and the kind of that feeling of being, having like tingles and so forth, right? These are very, very common. Your lips may start to tingle as well too. Forrest talks about the lip at the bottom being tingled, but I've actually had the entire lip tingle as well too. So these are again just simple proofs, as Forrest calls them, representing you going into these lower idle states or subtle states, as I term them, right? So don't be alarmed by that. That is a perfectly natural effect, right? That's just showing that your body is tuning into the more subtle frequencies. And again, you are becoming vivid. And now as you're becoming vivid, you can go into your reinforcement space. And like I said, it's like a tuning fork, right? If spirit is vibrating at this level, right? It's pretty slow, right? It's that slow, subtle state of vibration. And our tuning fork is moving in harmony together with that vibration. We're now in harmony with spirit, right? And I refer to spirit just being that of the lower subtle states, right? So when you're going in and you're creating your love reinforcement space, you're now able to feel like your space is talking to you, right? You can be in a house and all of a sudden you feel like the house is talking to you. You can have animals in your environment and feel like your animals are talking to you, or insects are talking to you, or angels are talking to you, or your family is talking to you, right? Or just spirit light is talking to you, whatever it may be that's in your space, or that the void is talking to you, okay? So there's no limitations about that. Whatever your space is, when you're in that lower subtle state of being, you're going to have direct interaction between spirit and yourself, okay? This is also spiking up the gamma states within your brain, okay? Your brainwave of gamma starts to spike up as well too. When you start going into these lower subtle states and you're there, like I said, you leave your ego at the door. You can even continue to do the heart rate variability if you wish in the reinforcement space, but I mainly just say just focus on bringing your space about, right? And if you want to go back into heart rate variability after that, you can, right? And you can continue to do that. Continue to do the heart rate variability as well too. And you're just bringing in all this love. This love energy is coming into you, right? So this is where we're going to go into the shortened version of the BCR technique, right? So to sum it up, for the shortened version, we're still doing the breath work. We're still doing the calmness. We're not doing the reinforcement space, okay? So this is why it's important for the first 2 weeks, you want to make sure that you're doing the reinforcement space, okay? You're getting used to it. And of course, you can continue to do the reinforcement space as long as you want, as often as you want. This is just an optional version of the BCR technique. You do not have to use it if you don't want to. Like I said, I'm not going to demonstrate it today, but I'm just talking about what it represents. And then tomorrow, we'll do the full demonstration of the short BCR technique, okay? So like I said, we're still doing the breath work. We're still doing phase 1 and phase 2 breathing, okay? What is phase 1 breath? Phase 1 breath is the cleansing breath. Breathing into the nose, breathing out through the mouth, okay? And we're only using that as a state of getting active, of being aware, of being awake, okay? If we're kind of groggy, right, then we use the phase 1 breath to make ourselves more alert, okay? If you are already alert and if you're already awake, as I've talked about before, you can skip phase 1 breathing, okay? And you can just go right into phase 2 breathing, okay? Which is what? Heart rate variability, exactly, okay? So you can start on with nasal breathing, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, or 5 seconds in, or 7 seconds out. If you also have Forrest Knutson's resonant breathing app as well too, just start with that, right? Work with that. Set it for 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you feel your preference is, and just work with heart rate variability. You can stay in heart rate variability for as long as you want. There's no limit to that, okay? So we go into the phase 2 breathing with heart rate variability, and we move ourselves from active calmness to what? To subtle calmness. That's right. Now that we're in subtle calmness, we don't go into the reinforcement space. We're in that natural state of calmness because we're familiar. We are familiar with the love energy that is accumulated. Let me take these off. I don't think I need these right now. Making my ear itch. Yeah. Anyways, we are familiar with our reinforcement space. So what do? We go right into the gauge. Okay, we go right into the gauge and we just fill our heart with love energy. So which means you do not need your reinforcement space. You already know that your reinforcement space is inside your heart, and you're using the gauge to fill your heart up completely. And then as you fill your heart up completely, you can then go back to your checklist, right? So of course that's the very first thing. That's the pre-BCR technique, right? Is we're using the checklist here, right? Working with our physical body, our emotional body, our mental body. And we're doing that before we begin the BCR technique. And then as we look into that, we just talk to the love energy in ourselves. The love energy entity can also pop in just by doing the gauge, okay? So I'll be demonstrating the gauge tomorrow. We've already done it in the past, okay? But I'll be demonstrating the full effect of the shortened BCR technique tomorrow. But that's really what it entails. It just entails the ability of you just going right into calmness, into subtle calmness, and then using the gauge, and you have the love energy there. And now you can work with the love energy in the heart or the love energy entity just as it is, okay? So that's all it is we're just omitting the reinforcement space. We're omitting the need to create the reinforcement space altogether. So that shortens a few minutes of it, right? And that's what we're doing here for the BCR technique. But this is why I say that you want to make sure you have at least 2 weeks of practice under your belt working with the space before we go ahead and we do this, right? If you're just starting out, you say, oh yeah, Brad, I'll just go ahead and do the short version. I said, it probably won't work too well for you. Right? You want to be very, very familiar with your reinforcement space. And having 2 weeks of experience of knowing what your reinforcement space is like, you don't need to keep jumping back into it because you already know that it exists inside your heart, right? So all we're doing is we're just stretching out the gauge. We're bringing in the love energy. We're accumulating it directly into the heart. Very, very simple, right? So when I do this tomorrow with you guys, you'll see how simple it is. It's not challenging whatsoever, right? And if you want to continue to use that from the times forward, go ahead, right? I would say not to really scrap the idea of the reinforcement space. It is a very important thing to have, right? So I'd say maybe take turns, right? One day I'll do a short BCR technique and I'll see how it is. Next day I'll go back into my reinforcement space. It's up to you, right? You are creator. You decide what works best for you. This is just an option. Like I said, the BCR technique short version does not have to be a mandatory thing. It's just something that's optional. All right? Okay, so let me just see if there's any questions here. It's going to be kind of a short video here today, guys, because I'm going to be doing New York TV Live here at 11 o'clock. Roy says, I forgot to do it yesterday. I took a nap and woke up and completely forgot. I'll have to wait to implement this technique. It's okay. If you fall asleep, if your day is very, very busy, and you aren't able to get around to the BCR technique, you miss a day, that's okay. Just add an extra day to your allotment. So now it's the 31-day plan, right? That's all we're doing, just making sure that we're picking up that extra day at the end, okay? All right, guys, that's all I have to share with you today for day 14. It's kind of a short and sweet day. And then tomorrow I will come back and we will do the full BCR short technique demonstration. And then we'll cover some more questions should you guys have any. Okay, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for day number 15. Take care.